knows the order. It'll be Janelle, Gina, Gerald, me, Aisha. So in, cool. I'll just kind of move out of the way, and you can actually I'll go that way and move away. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Janelle Green, and I'm a co-organizer of the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women. I'm joined here today by the other co-organizers and volunteer leaders of the movement. On Saturday, January 21st at 1 p.m., we will host the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women, a peaceful demonstration of solidarity. The march will rally members of underrepresented communities, women, and their allies from across Georgia and the nation. We believe the Atlanta March will continue this city's legacy of civil rights leadership and nonviolent protest by embracing the 6 principles of nonviolence and the 6 steps of nonviolent social change developed and championed by the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The march will begin at the Center for Civil and Human Rights and will conclude at the Georgia State Capitol. Through coalition building and with social justice leaders and organizations such as the NAACP, Georgia Equality, the Georgia Muslim Voter Project, and so many more, this one-time event will mobilize people in collective action towards creating and sustaining change. Our goal is to represent ourselves as an America where the full humanity and dignity of all people are recognized. Through the Atlanta March, we will stand in solidarity with and among underrepresented communities, women, and their allies to defend the most marginalized among us. We will promote equity and social justice. We plan to create a lasting impact by mobilizing thousands of marchers to public engagement and political activism, connecting them with the great work of our community partners and organizations. While we are an independent movement, the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women is officially recognized by the Women's March on Washington, D.C. On this day, there will be marches happening in over 130 cities throughout the United States and 36 cities across the globe, including Berlin, Tokyo, and Sydney. We expect more cities to announce marches in the coming days. The Atlanta March champions immigrants of all statuses, people of all religious faith, and those who are agnostic or atheists, Native and indigenous peoples, individuals of African and Asian descent, Asian Pacific Islanders, Latinx people, those with disabilities, survivors of sexual violence, people who are seeking economic opportunity, the LGBTQIA communities, and women. We are not protesting the incoming administration. We are the bipartisan majority. Our march will amplify the voices of our communities by embodying and supporting work that defeats racism, injustice, and inequality. We eliminating human trafficking, advocating for the right to clean water, clean air, and environmental justice, and to hold accountable law enforcement in cases of police brutality and other issues relevant to creating a just and equitable society. We invite all Georgians to march with us. We are not an anti-Trump protest. We are not sore losers. We are defenders of equality and equity for all Georgians. We reject racism, sexism, homophobia, and xenophobia. We are the majority of Americans. We are defenders of the Constitution of the United States of America. We are patriots. For more information on the march, volunteer opportunities, becoming a community partner organization, make a donation to help offset march costs, and connect with our community partners, please visit our website, atlantamarch.com, or join us on Facebook and Twitter at Atlanta March. Turn it over to Gina.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Gina Garreau-Clark and also one of the co-organizers of the march. Thank you all for coming here today. The goal of the march is to get numbers. We want people physically present, banded together, to show how many Georgians support civil rights moving forward, not backwards. I have received Why I March statements from volunteers, community partners, and marchers. As we stand here, you see color, you see gender, you may see religion or sexual orientation, but we stand here before you as much more than that. We are survivors of hate crimes, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. We have been passed over for jobs and lived in poverty. We are disabled, face terminal illness, and have lost health care coverage. We were raised in interracial families, are interracially married, have multiracial children, and we stand here as allies and as friends to learn about one another and the human rights issues we all face. In order to move forward, our community organizations need support. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and atlantamarch.com to learn about the work these organizations have been doing and will continue to do for the betterment of all Georgians. Gerald?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out on behalf of the Georgia NAACP and of course the host chapter, the Atlanta NAACP. We could think of nothing better than to support the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women. As the conveners of the march back in July that brought estimated 14,000 Georgians into the streets, we're asking for 20,000 Georgians to join together in unity for all social rights, because social rights are human rights. And I think of no better time in Georgia's history than to come together at the beginning of a new journey into 2017 and into the new administration. Again, this is a bipartisan effort. This is not about politics. This is about rights. And we're asking every single Georgian, every single mother, every single daughter, every single brother, every single father, every single uncle and aunt to come out and join the march, because we are going to amplify that in Georgia, it's about human rights. In Georgia, it's about women's rights. In Georgia, it's about minority rights. And in Georgia, it's about LGBTQ rights, because we are not going to go backwards. We are going to continue the momentum that's been pushed forward since the civil rights movement to now. So we as the NAACP are proud to support this march. We are proud to open our arms and our doors to all of our Georgians. But most importantly, we're sending a message to Georgia and the nation. We will not go backwards. In fact, we will continue to push forward, and we will continue to protect the rights of everyone. So as the NAACP, we are proud to support this march. We hope that more than 20,000 Georgians will come out and participate on January the 21st at the Center for Civil and Human Rights, and that this march will be even bigger than the march that was in July. So again, why I march is because of my daughter and because of my mother. Thank you.
Can I get your name?
I am Attorney Gerald Griggs. I am the Vice President of this chapter, the NAACP Atlanta chapter, and the Chair of the Georgia Criminal Justice Committee.
Hi, I'm Blynn Olivieri, also one of the march co-organizers. I realized that we didn't introduce ourselves. Up here and standing in front of you are the 5 co-organizers of the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women. Gina Garreau-Clark, myself, Blynn Olivieri, Aisha Yakub, Gerald Griggs, Janelle Jarris Green. And you can speak with us later on spellings or whatever else we can get you. Thank you also for being here today. I'm here to give a little bit of history about how this Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women was started, and to also talk about the logistics and the budget and things like that. So I had a college girlfriend text me on November 11th, inviting me up to the newly formed and emerging Washington, D.C. March for Women. And I immediately made hotel reservations and a flight plan to go up. And I started looking at ways to becoming involved in planning the Washington, D.C. March to help with logistics and things like that. And I ended up to be connected into the Georgia chapter for the Women's March on Washington, whose purpose was to organize. There very quickly emerged a need for a local march. On Facebook, there were all sorts of requests and questions. Is there going to be a march in Atlanta? And I decided, I took a long bike ride, and I decided, well, what is required of me at a time like this to move our nation forward, to defend and protect civil and human rights? What is required of me at this time in my life to help defend these rights and help move Georgia forward and our nation forward? And I decided to step in and start organizing that march. And on that same day, a lot of the people you see here in the room came aboard to volunteer to help organize an Atlanta march, especially with Gina Guerrero-Clark jumping right in. And on that first evening of Sunday, November 13th, we worked to develop the mission and the title of the march and to get a Facebook page up. So we were one of, Janelle mentioned all of the local marches happening around the country and worldwide, and I think we were one of the earlier local marches to organize. And it has indeed been a pleasure to organize this march. So logistically, this march is starting at the Center for Civil and Human Rights with a rally of speakers and performers. That roster is being finalized, but we have a number of different speakers we can confirm at this time, which includes Edward Mitchell of the Council of American and Islamic Relations, CAIR, Dr. Francis Johnson of Georgia NAACP, as well as Adrian White, who works at the Center for Civil and Human Rights, among many others. And we will then proceed down the Centennial Olympic Boulevard and then turn on MLK Junior Drive and end at the Georgia State Capitol, also with a rally of speakers. And the speakers at the Georgia State Capitol will be giving a call to action to encourage people to become civically engaged, to become politically active, and very, very importantly, to run for political office. I think there's an enormous groundswell of women running for office in Georgia, and we want to encourage that. Not only women running, but people who are committed to defending and protecting and advancing civil and human rights and protections of our planet. We submitted our first round of permits on December 21st. That is with the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of Special Events. We have been working closely with the Atlanta Police Department for several weeks now, and there will be rolling roadblocks as the march proceeds, and we will have a minimum of 7 Atlanta Police bicycle teams accompanying the marchers. This is a major event. We are expecting upwards of 20,000 people, and our budget reflects building and creating a well-organized, well-planned, well-executed, safe and inclusive march, and an accessible march. So a lot of the budgetary needs for the march, we will soon be launching an online fundraising campaign, have directly to do with the costs associated with creating a safe and accessible march. And what else do I need to cover? And we have a fabulous celebrity outreach team, and we are encouraging and hoping for a really great roster of performers to inspire our marchers. That's it.
Thank you, Glenn. Good afternoon and hello. My name is Aisha Yakub, and I am the Policy Director for Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta. I'm also the founder of the Georgia Muslim Voter Project. I'm honored to stand here with such an amazing group of people that have started this wonderful movement. This past year, I worked with several immigrant and people of color organizations to increase civic engagement around this election. Now that the election is over, our work doesn't stop here. We realized that our work was interconnected because we were all working towards the same goal of increasing participation in the civic arena for all immigrants, all people of color, and all underrepresented minorities in our state. So today, nearly 6 weeks after the election, we have to stick together even more. As we face an incoming administration that has vilified, degraded, and misappropriated Muslims, Latinos, and other groups, we must come together now and stand together and not let this divide us. This is why I'm so excited to be part of the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women. And in the last few weeks, we've been working together time and time again to prove that this is truly the time for us to come together and make something great happen. I'd like to take a few minutes to share a few opportunities for anyone interested in joining the march. Of course, everyone is welcome to join us at 1 p.m. at the Center for Civil and Human Rights, but for those that are able to contribute some more time, we are still looking for volunteers to help with outreach on a regional level to encourage groups of people from all over the state to join us in the march, as well as people on the day of the march to help with logistics and crowd control. So if you are interested in volunteering, please join us on the website at atlantamarch.com and sign up and learn about more volunteer opportunities. Additionally, as Janelle mentioned, we are looking for community organizations to partner with us and make sure that this march is inclusive for all groups. So if your community or faith-based organization or student group is interested in joining the march as a sponsoring organization, or even just bringing your community group out to the march with their t-shirts and with their happy faces, please join us at atlantamarch.com to learn about how to become a community partner. And I'd also like to take a minute to address something that's come up in the last couple of weeks. People have asked if this march is about one group of people helping another group of disadvantaged people. And I'd like to clarify that it's not about that. It's about all of us realizing that our freedoms are all tied together. And if we don't come together, none of us can truly embody the freedom that comes with living in the United States of America. I'll echo this quote that I really love. If you have come here to help me, then you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. So I'm asking for you all to join me today and work together to come together for social justice for women, for Muslims, for immigrants, for African American sisters and brothers, for undocumented community members, for our friends and family with disabilities, for any other group of people that are still fighting the good fight. Thank you all to my fellow organizers, and I'm looking forward to joining them on January 21st at the Atlanta March for Social Justice and Women.
You guys any questions?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I know this is not an anti-Trump march, but would you say that it's a response to the election?
I would say it's a response to the growing hate around multiple groups, not specifically about Mr. Trump, but about what Georgia stands for and what we will continue to stand for. So we, again, are bipartisan. We are inclusive of all individuals who are interested in human rights, in civil rights, but it's not an anti-Trump march. It's an anti-hate march.
Are you concerned about your safety, Marcus?
No, I'm not concerned about my safety. I'm not concerned about the safety of anyone else, because we're all American citizens, and America has always had a right to lift our voice in protest. That's how the country was founded. The Boston Tea Party is an exact symbol of that. So no, we're not afraid of our safety. Wasn't afraid in July, won't be afraid in January, won't be afraid in the next 4 years.
May I add? One of the reasons I am here, I'm not worried about our safety during the march. I'm very worried about the safety of my friends. And that is why I stepped up to march, because right before I saw Blynn's post asking if anybody was willing to help, I saw a post from a friend who was recently transgendered, and she said, "I'm very scared." And I have lived this before, because as a teenager, I grew up and hung out in Greenwich Village a lot in the 80s. And there were increasing amounts of gay bashings. It was all over the news there. We lived it, we were there. We were afraid for ourselves, we were afraid for our friends. And as a teenager, that was something pretty shocking to go through when somebody was killed. So as a teenager, I was afraid then. Now I am an adult, and I feel like it is time for us all to step up and say, we're not gonna let this happen again. So as far as fear, I'm afraid not of the march, but I'm afraid of my friends and of this going backwards.
Any of you been in talks with any local politicians? Any reaction from them on this, or for or against it? You know.
We haven't gotten any negative feedback from the political community. We haven't gotten any negative feedback from any of the political community. We've been doing a lot of outreach. Harmel Deanne Cody is here. She's our director of political outreach and has been working with us to get the word out. State Senator Vincent Fort, State Senator Steve Henson, Representative Michelle Henson have all jumped on board immediately, is very supportive of the march, and we look forward to support from other legislators as well.
What do you say to those who are saying you're just trying to ruin a special day for the president?
The president has a special day on Inauguration Day. We've specifically chosen our march to take place the next day. The celebrations will be over in Washington, and it's time for America to get to work and to come together. We are not trying to detract or distract from anybody else's celebrations. We simply want to create an opportunity for those who don't feel included in those celebrations to come together to feel peace, support, and inclusivity.
For those who may not get it, you know, because there's gonna be some people who just don't get it, and they might watch this at home. What would you say to them who they don't see a point in marching? They don't see any reason why people feel they need to do this. You know, I talked to somebody this morning who felt that way. So what would you say to them?
I would say come out and join us. I would say get on our Facebook page, get on our Twitter, follow us at atlantamarch.com, because we are actually specifically addressing specific issues that our community partner organizations deal with. We have been putting out Fact of the Day to show people, if you do not understand, then join us and learn about what our communities face, because as we have said, and we will continue to say, this is not bipartisan. There are real issues to face, and there are real issues to come together. So if you're not sure what the point of the march is, please do join us and learn about these individuals, what they face.
There's a lot of different forms of activism. Some people write letters. Some people participate in direct actions like marches and demonstrations and such. And I think that this demonstration, which is a peaceful demonstration in defense and to protect those that are most marginalized among us, is an action which will resonate and show our numbers and our strength as Americans, that we will stand up against homophobia, racism, sexism, and more. And we understand and recognize that a lot of people take different actions, and that this march is but one step, one significant step in amongst a dozen of demonstrations and direct actions that have been happening in Atlanta and will be happening in Atlanta, I know, through January, which will also be part and parcel of legislation to proposing new bills and policy changes that will increase Georgia's recognition of the needs to protect marginalized groups, and that we want to make Georgia the best state in America. And I think that we are well on our way to that, and we are fighting the good fight.
Can I add something to that? I think that in addition to the issues of racism, sexism, and all of the other things that have come about, this really impacts every American in environmental issues, in healthcare issues. We have millions of people who are covered by the Affordable Care Act and are now facing the potential loss of their insurance coverage. Those who are most at risk of being impacted by that are people with the most limited of resources. So I would really encourage people to look at their environment, their water, their air quality, their health care, and encourage them to look at all of those issues universally along with the social issues
and join us, because truly there is something in this march for everyone. There are issues in here that affect each and every Georgian.
One last thing. To those who don't get it, who just say, why march? We would say we're not going to normalize hate. No matter how much it comes from a certain individual or certain people, this is a country that was born of immigrants that came together to build a great country. And we think that starting January 21st, we will continue to show that this is a country of inclusion, not exclusion. So I think for the people who just don't get it, they should come and take part in the march and see what America really looks like, and see America's moving forward in a direction that includes everyone, but that also protects everyone. So I understand it's going to be a lot of people who just don't get it. But moving forward for the next 4 years, they will be forced to get it, because America's not going backwards. It's going forward. It's going to continue to move forward, and the march is just a step in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
I'm gonna give